Captain Thorne of the starship Dreadnought stared at the monitor, his expression stoic, though unable to fully conceal his true feelings. He needed to coordinate with the head of security before proceeding. "Are we sure the restraints are secure?" he asked, hoping not to discover otherwise. The legends about these creatures made it clear that no bonds could hold them. "This one has no cybernetic enhancements, and we've reinforced the restraints." The chief of security tried to sound confident, but there was a hint of uncertainty as they entered the interrogation room. The creature looked up and smiled as the interview began at 27:21, with Captain Thorne and the captured alien pilot present. The being identified itself as Steve, speaking in perfect galactic standard, while Thorne carefully observed the alien. "I am Steve. I am a human." Thorne struggled to contain his excitement. This was a breakthrough. He had captured an elusive enemy that usually left no traces of technology or casualties after a battle. Now, he had one right in front of him. "I know you're considering your words carefully," Thorne said, sitting across the table, resting his hands on it. He dragged a titanium, lead, and tungsten gauntlet heavily across the surface. "You just need to answer my questions. That's all. What are you doing here?" The human's smile widened as he responded. "Do you really think that attitude will help? You won't outwit me with simple diversion tactics." Steve pushed the gauntlet aside and leaned forward on the table, still smiling. "If you want this to be effective, then you need to ask the right questions. The kind of questions you wouldn't ask anyone else." Thorne studied the prisoner. The man wore what appeared to be an officer's uniform. His appearance matched their military, and he had a disturbingly calm demeanor. "Why?" Thorne asked, genuinely curious. Steve smiled modestly. "That's a good question, but there are several answers. The first is that I have no reason to lie to you. I was captured and brought here by your battle cruiser." He paused and nodded before continuing. "The second answer is longer, so be patient. When humans first reached for the stars, we were thrilled. We broke the barriers of faster-than-light travel and ventured beyond our home planet. We were eager to discover hundreds of thousands of systems with habitable planets. We colonized them all, introducing our species into countless balanced ecosystems. The results were devastating. The original life forms died out everywhere. The conclusion we reached was that humans were the first to explore and settle the galaxy. We accidentally eliminated any potential competition. Another intelligent species became aware of our mistakes. We began terraforming barren planets and evacuating colonies to preserve the remaining ecosystems. But the damage was too extensive. The planets were dying, and the terraformed ones failed to produce new life. We had destroyed all natural life in the galaxy, proving ourselves as destroyers and failures as creators. We created protected areas for some of the surviving species, but over time, they all died out. Now, all we have left is the archive." The man lowered his shoulders, displaying a sense of shame. Time passed, and with it came the ability to travel through the galactic void. We reached a neighboring galaxy and found that there was neither space nor civilization there. This led to rule number 1. No planet that supports life can be colonized by anyone outside of its ecosystem. We terraformed and colonized barren planets, protected life-bearing planets, and provided clean energy technologies to every civilization that had reached the industrial age. We used our history as a cautionary tale to help build prosperous, thriving civilizations. We warned them when they tried to seize the life support systems we were protecting. "No," we said, but in the end, the few species that had a home were devalued. We killed billions, yet we also raised and taught billions because they didn't know any better. In our desire to preserve life, we forgot that growth and knowledge come from resistance. Only through challenges can we truly learn. The second rule was that no system containing a life-bearing planet could be colonized, and any contact with a foreign species must be initiated by them. Steve looked up, his eyes filled with grief. "Then we found this galaxy and the Galactic Association. 150 spacefaring species locked in a fragile peace." 157, Thorne corrected, realizing he was giving away information. Steve nodded politely. "Yes, 7 newly joined species have space communication but not space travel. They're like lambs among wolves. We saw this galaxy's rapid arms race and realized that to protect life here, We had to become the enemy. The leaders of each species were invited aboard a diplomatic ship to witness all of human space. They were educated about our history and the potential destruction of life in the galaxy if nothing changed. We offered a solution. We would become the enemy, invaders that could only be contained through unity and alliance. So your leaders forced you into the war, Thorn interrupted. And you didn't agree. These 4 rules were not made lightly by the elected captains, Steve continued. They were developed over centuries and debated for thousands of years before reaching a consensus. It took less than 1,500 years to implement the rule of thirds to preserve life everywhere. Those in the know had to act accordingly. For 6,000 years, we defended life-bearing planets, first colonizing neighboring systems and establishing safe zones. But the Milky Way moved rapidly 100 years ago, and we found the Alliance expanding into forbidden systems, knowingly disregarding the presence of life. The New 7 are an example from 100 years ago. The 4th rule was enforced, and I will convey it to you. Steve continued, in densely populated systems, the locals are at the dawn of the digital age. They have yet to reach space. Everything above their heads is sacred territory, and any interference is seen as divine intervention. To them, we are gods. Thorn saw no need to interfere with the planet's operations. He was only looking for mineral deposits and gas giants, and there's plenty going on in this system. Steve sighed and looked Thorn directly in the eyes. Any advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. My ship was not captured. I'm not your prisoner, and this is not a trial. My ship was placed. I am a volunteer messenger. If the drive doesn't charge, you all die.